Hi everyone, this was a request by jadegrrrl. I'll put a link to her channel down below if you haven't already checked her out. Basically, obviously from the picture at the beginning, I'll be giving an overview of the e.l.f. contouring blush and bronzing powder, as well as the e.l.f. HD or high definition powder. Now just quickly, for those of you internationally and even locally, as I've mentioned many times before, we can't get e.l.f. products in Australia and e.l.f. does not ship to Australia. So I've picked all these products up from crushcosmetics.com.au. I'm slowly building my e.l.f. collection. They have quite a bit of the studio line as well as a few of the mineral line as well. So I'll put a link to there as well as the prices in Australian dollars. Now the first one I'll mention is the e.l.f. contouring blush and bronzing powder. I'm sure all of you have seen the nice little sleek palettes that they have. A nice sleek, slim black, smooth plastic. Not dissimilar to the NARS sort of clasp, but again NARS is that nice sort of rubbery velvet and this is just a smooth matte black. So you get the nice generous mirror in there. And quite a bit of the blush and bronzing powder. It's about 4 grams of product in there. Main ingredients are talc, mica, and mineral oil, and other stuff I cannot even pronounce, but very nice. You get the light peachy pink and the cool mid brown. Both of them are very shimmery, and I'll put some swatches at the end of the video so you can actually see the colours. A little bit truer than how they are showing up on the camera, but that'll be at the end, as well as some comparisons. Now, as I mentioned, they are pretty shimmery. I do find that having this as a contouring blush, which sort of more mean that I'm trying to use it as a definer or making my face a little bit more angular or contouring, it is a little bit too shimmery for that. I've used this more as a nice sort of highlight on the cheekbones. I've even used it as an eyeshadow pick-me-up, so a little bit of shimmer on the eye, as well as just a nice flush of colour with a bit of shimmer. Same with the bronzing powder, it's fairly shimmery, so I wouldn't use this more as my overall bronzer. I wouldn't use it as a contouring powder as well. It is a nice sort of shade, quite good for my skin tone as a contour, but it's far too shimmery for that. I'd use it more as just a bit of a highlight on the cheeks, a little bit of a highlight look over the bronze that I have. Normally I prefer matte bronzers. I was happy though to see with this particular shade of brown, I don't have anything like that in my bronzers or any of my contouring powders. So now I've got a different sort of shade of brown, which is quite good obviously during the year with the effects of the sun or whatnot. I am a little bit paler. At the moment I'm quite pale, mainly because it is winter in Australia at the moment. But I'm looking forward to using the bronzing powder a little bit more because it is shimmery coming up to summer once that sort of warmer weather picks up. Now with the actual colours, hopefully you'll be able to see that again. I'll put swatches at the end. The blushes are very nice light pinky peach, and then you've got the nice sort of brown which is there. They're not highly pigmented, they're fairly pigmented, not more any so than the bronzers or blushes I already have, but as you can see they're quite nice and you can sheer them out relatively nicely as well and leave your face with a little bit of colour and just a nice bit of shimmer. Something though I have found, at least in my colours that I have, or the blushes that I have, or powders, the pinky peach blush in there is actually not dissimilar, fairly similar to the Shell Pearl from the Matte Give Me Liberty of London collection. That's the Shell Pearl there. It's the beauty powder. This though isn't as shimmery as the e.l.f. blush, but it does give practically the same sort of colour pale off. It is a pinky peach as well, quite light. Not as shimmery, but they are practically the same, at least in my opinion. I'll put swatches at the end. If anything, this could be a little bit more apricot-y, if that makes any sense, and more shimmery, but fairly similar, and not pretty bad for the price as well. I think this is about $7.95 Australian dollars. I know people can get it a lot cheaper internationally, but when it's compared to something like this, which I think I paid about 55 Australian dollars for. Crazy. Mac's so expensive here. Not a bad sort of dupe. Almost comparable though, that blush to NARS Orgasm, the much talked about NARS Orgasm. This is a lot more pinky though, and this is even more shimmery than the e.l.f. blush, but it gives it a relatively similar sort of payoff if I want that sort of just a nice sort of flush and glow to the cheek. But this does, yeah, definitely more pink. Overall thoughts though, I mean, it's definitely not a must-have because it is so shimmery. Again, you wouldn't be able to use it as much as contouring or sort of bronzing if you do like matte sort of blushes or matte bronzers. This is probably going to be too shimmery for you. But for the price, depending if you're getting it internationally or getting it within Australia, it still is fairly good. And like I said, if you missed out on the Shell Pearl from the Matte Community of London, this is a fairly good dupe for it. And it's a fairly nice sort of shimmery bronze to have on hand as well if you like the cooler sort of browns as well. And I just love those palettes, as I mentioned. I just love the compacts. They're really, really nice. Now to the e.l.f. HD powder. Obviously you get the nice little powder puff with it that I'm sure you've all seen. I don't use the powder puff. I probably prefer to use that for maybe just sort of dabbing it off, but I really haven't used it at all. For any of the HD powders or translucent powders, I only would use something, for me anyway, that has a really, really nice, fine, soft sort of bristles, not a very dense brush, because I don't want to rub it into my face. I just want to pat it over my makeup, set the sort of makeup, or sort of mattify the look. So obviously being a HD powder, you can use it for high definition sort of photos or anything with a flash. You don't want to come out looking washed out. You don't want to sort of have that nice shiny look. This will mattify your look. It's just a very, very fine white powder. Main ingredients are dimethicone and silica. And a fair amount. What do you get? It's 14 grams, I believe. Oh, sorry. Overkill there, 8 grams. You get 8 grams of product in here. Unfortunately, I don't have the MAC setting powder or finishing powder to compare it to. The one that I have been using is the Australis Ready Set Go powder. For some reason it doesn't have the grammage on here. I don't know why. But this in Australia would set me back about $9.95. I normally get it on special, so about $8 something I would pay the most for this. And again, the main ingredients in here are silica and parabens though, and some other products. But this one, as I mentioned, dimethicone. For those of you, I have no idea what that is. It's a cross polymer, I think, and silica. So it is a very, very nice white, very, very finely milled powder. Micro, won't even show up on, obviously on camera there. It's very, very soft. I have used the trick that I think Lisa D1 and Mac Too Faced Adore mentioned, leaving the plastic film on, or the seal that it comes in, because, which happened with my Australis one, because it is such a very, very fine, very loose powder, it gets everywhere with the sifter. So you want to sort of be able to control that. All I did was poke 4 little holes into the top of it through obviously the existing holes in the sifter, and that's been well enough. I can get enough product out, just sort of shake it up a little bit, dust it on my brush, tap it over the face, brush it over the face lightly, and I'm sort of set my makeup, set the look, mattified it, and that's more than enough. Otherwise you'll find that it'll get everywhere possible. But it is a very sleek, silky sort of feeling for those of you that don't have any HD powders. It doesn't make my face look washed out. It doesn't give me that sort of white, milky sort of look to the face. You can hardly notice it's on, but you can sort of feel that really soft, silky sort of look. As I said, it mattifies the look as well. It doesn't do any more better than the Australis one though as well, so this is obviously a little bit easy for me to pick up. But for those of you that want to try the e.l.f. one, I still would recommend it. It's really good. I haven't had any breakouts or anything to it. I do find my Australis one is a little bit silkier, a little bit softer, but this is relatively just as good. I do like the compact as well, although it gets a little bit fiddly trying to get the lid back on. And again, it's quite a bit chunky, a little bit like the NARS one, so not something I can just throw my going away bag for a weekend away. Something like this is a lot more easy to take away. But then again, if you can get the actual sifter off, you can tap this or get a spatula and put it into a little sifter, and obviously you're ready to go traveling with it. Probably get a little bit messy, but I would recommend it if you want to try it. It's no better, no worse than the other ones that I've tried. Nice silky powder. Nice sort of setting powder. I've used it over all different types of foundations, liquid foundations, mousse foundations, powder foundations, over blushes and bronzers. Days I'm wearing primers and not without primers. Doesn't seem to make my makeup last any longer, but like I said, it takes away that sort of shine or sheen if I want to sort of tone down the look a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks again, Jade Girl, for the request.